Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Cade Wren didn't expect anything important to happen on Helios Drift Station. No one ever did. Helios Drift floated at the edge of three minor trade routes, too far from the core worlds to matter, too close to pirate space to feel safe. The station smelled of recycled air, hot metal, old oil and cheap food grown in vats. It was the kind of place where people passed through, not where legends began. Cade had been there for almost 4 years. Long enough to know which corridors had faulty lights, long enough to know which security officers could be bribed with a drink, long enough to stop asking himself how he ended up here. He was human, that alone made him average. Humans were everywhere in the galaxy. Dock workers, translators, pilots, mercenaries, always useful, rarely respected, not strong like the Vraks, not brilliant like the Selathi, not ancient like the Elders. Humans survived by adapting, by blending in, by doing jobs others didn't want. Cade did whatever paid. Guide work was simple: meet off-worlders, show them around, explain customs, keep them from getting robbed or arrested. It didn't pay much, but it kept him alive. That was why he noticed her. She sat alone in the docking bar at a table near the wall, where the light flickered just enough to make faces look tired and worn. Most aliens on Helios Drift stood out in obvious ways: extra limbs, metallic skin, glowing eyes, heavy implants. She didn't. 2 arms, 2 legs, pale skin with a faint blue tint. Dark hair pulled back in a loose knot. No visible tech. No guards, no weapons. Just a glass of something clear and a small credit chip tapping against the table again and again like she was bored. People gave her space. That part was strange. The docking bar was crowded, loud and rough. Drunk freighter crews argued. Smugglers laughed too hard. A fight almost broke out near the door. Yet no one brushed past her table. No one stared too long. No one tried to flirt or threaten her. It was like the space around her didn't belong to the bar. Cade felt it before he understood it. She looked up and met his eyes. "You're human," she said. Her voice was calm, curious, not impressed. Cade touched the worn patch on his jacket without thinking, a merchant guild symbol from a job long gone. "Last I checked." She tilted her head slightly. "Are you working?" "Always," he said. "You hearing or just collecting data?" A small smile crossed her face, crooked, almost shy, maybe both. That should have been his warning. She said her name was Lyra. Not a title, not a family name, just Lyra. She hired him as a guide for 3 days. Navigation, translation, local rules, nothing dangerous. She paid in clean credits transferred instantly, not rich but comfortable. Enough to seem normal. For the first day, she acted like any other traveler. She asked questions about human habits, why humans still used physical tokens in some places, why their ships favored redundancy over elegance, why humans laughed so easily. Cade answered without thinking too much. He joked, he explained. He complained about station food and gravity fluctuations. She listened closely. When they passed a street vendor selling fried protein sticks, she stopped to try one, burned her fingers, laughed softly at herself. When the transit ring jolted unexpectedly, she steadied herself by gripping the railing like she wasn't used to unstable gravity. She felt real. That made Cade ignore the small things. The way station security glanced at her twice, then quickly looked away. The way a merchant guild official stiffened when she spoke, his tone turning respectful without reason. The way a group of smugglers cut their conversation short when she walked past, suddenly finding somewhere else to be. No one bothered her. Not once. On Helios Drift, that didn't happen by accident. By the second day, Cade started to feel protective. Not because she seemed weak, but because she seemed unaware. like someone walking through a storm without realizing how dangerous the wind could be. "You don't see it, do you?" he asked her once, as they watched cargo haulers drift past a viewport. "See what?" she asked. "This place," he said. "Helios eats careless people." She looked at the stars for a long moment. "I don't think anyone here would hurt me." Cade snorted. "You'd be surprised." She smiled again, that same small smile. "I don't think so." By the third day, he stopped asking questions. That was his mistake. The alarms sounded on the fourth morning. Not a drill. Helios Drift didn't waste power on drills. Red lights flashed. Bulkheads slammed shut with heavy metallic thuds. The air vibrated as emergency fields activated. Panic spread fast. Shouts echoed through the transit ring as crowds surged, trying to move away from sealed sections. Cade grabbed Lyra's wrist without thinking. "Stay close," he said. "This station attracts trouble." She didn't resist. She didn't look afraid either. That scared him more than panic would have. The transit ring sealed completely, trapping about 30 people inside. A mix of traders, travelers, dock workers, no security yet, just civilians in fear. Then the air shimmered. 6 figures phased into existence near the center of the ring. Black armor, angular, matte like it swallowed light. Energy rifles hummed softly in their hands. Their helmets were featureless except for narrow red visors. Void enforcers. Not pirates, worse. The crowd froze. One of the enforcers stepped forward. His voice echoed unnaturally, amplified by unseen tech. "By authority of the Sovereign Compact," he said, "surrender the individual known as Luravel Thane." The name hit the air like a physical force. Silence followed. Slowly, people turned their heads. Every eye moved toward Cade and the woman beside him. Cade felt his stomach drop. He looked at her. "Lyra," he whispered, "please tell me that's not you." She closed her eyes. "Just for a moment." "I was hopping," she said quietly. "We would have more time." Cade didn't think. He stepped forward, placing himself between her and the rifles. "You've got the wrong person," he said. His voice shook, but he didn't stop. "She's just a traveler." A rifle snapped up, aimed at his chest. "Human," the enforcer said. "Move." Cade didn't. He didn't know why. Humans did stupid things sometimes. Everyone said so. Maybe it was pride, maybe fear. Maybe he was tired of people with power taking what they wanted. "She's under my protection," he said. "You want her, you go through me." A low laugh came from behind the helmet. "You," the enforcer said. He glanced at Lyra. "You didn't tell him." She reached out and touched Cade's shoulder. Her hand was warm, steady. "Please move," she said gently. "No," Cade replied. For the first time since he met her. Something crossed her face that wasn't calm or curious. Regret. Then she straightened. "Very well," she said. She stepped past him. The temperature dropped instantly. Lights dimmed, then shifted to a deep violet glow. The air vibrated like a massive engine had just activated somewhere nearby. Cade felt pressure in his chest, not pain, authority. Lyra stood taller now. Her posture changed. Her voice was no longer soft. "You have no idea who I am," she said. Her skin began to glow faintly. Patterns emerged across her arms and face, intricate and alive like moving constellations. A symbol formed on her forehead, ancient, complex, unmistakably royal. Every enforcer dropped to one knee. Cade stood frozen, heart pounding. The woman he thought he knew turned slowly, power radiating from her like gravity. And the galaxy, Cade realized too late, had just changed around him. The silence inside the transit ring felt heavier than the station's gravity. Cade Rin stood frozen as the 6 void enforcers knelt before the woman he had known as Lyra. Their weapons powered down on their own, energy cells unlocking and sliding free as if reality itself had decided they were no longer allowed to fight. Around them, civilians stared in stunned disbelief. Some trembled. Others slowly lowered themselves to the floor, unsure whether standing was now a mistake. Cade's heart hammered in his chest. Lyra no Luravel Thane turned slightly, her glowing eyes sweeping the room. When her gaze passed over Cade, the pressure eased just a little, enough for him to breathe again. "Rise," she said calmly. The Void Enforcers obeyed instantly, standing with their heads bowed. "You were instructed to seize me," she continued, "not to terrorize civilians." "Our orders were incomplete," the lead enforcer said. His voice was tight, controlled, afraid. "We were told you were vulnerable." Luravel's expression hardened. "Then whoever told you that wanted you dead?" She lifted her hand. The enforcer's armor unlocked and separated, plates drifting away piece by piece, suspended in the air like discarded shells. They stood exposed now, powerless and human-looking beneath all that black metal. Station security burst into the ring seconds later, real security this time, heavily armed, nervous. They rushed in, then stopped as one. Every officer dropped to one knee. Cade swallowed. He had lived on Helios Drift for 4 years. He had never seen security kneel for anyone. Luravel lowered her hand. The armor crashed to the floor in a loud metallic clatter. "Take them," she said. Security didn't hesitate. The former enforcers were restrained and dragged away, still silent, still shaken. Slowly the alarms faded. The red lights dimmed back to normal. The transit ring doors unlocked. People began to move again, whispering, staring, avoiding eye contact with Luravel as if she were a living star that might burn them if they looked too long. Cade stayed where he was. Luravel turned to him. For a terrifying second, he expected her face to be cold, distant, untouchable. Instead, she smiled the same crooked smile she had worn in the docking bar. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I didn't enjoy pretending to be ordinary." Cade let out a shaky breath. "You could have told me." She nodded. "I know." They moved later to a quiet observation lounge overlooking open space. Stars stretched endlessly beyond the transparent alloy window, distant and indifferent. Luravel sat on the edge of a bench, legs dangling like she had before. The glow faded from her skin, leaving her looking almost normal again. "Almost. My real name is Luravel Thane," she said, "heir to the Thane Accord. I command 13 systems, 3 fleets, and enough influence to frighten people who claim not to feel fear." Cade stared at the stars. "So, you're important." She laughed softly. "That's one way to put it." "Why Helios Drift?" he asked. "Why me?" Luravel folded her hands together. "Because humans are strange." Cade snorted. "You noticed." "Your species has no natural advantages," she continued. "You are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the oldest. Most galactic powers see humans as temporary." She looked at him directly. "Yet you step in front of danger when logic says you shouldn't." Cade remembered the rifle pointed at his chest, how his legs had wanted to move but didn't. "I wanted to know," she said, "if that was real." He frowned. "So I was a test." "No," she said quickly, "you were a choice." She explained then. The galaxy was changing. Old empires were cracking. Alliances held together by fear were failing. Assassins replaced diplomats. War fleets gathered in quiet systems. Luravel would soon inherit a throne built on intimidation and obedience. "I don't want to rule like that," she said. "Fear creates silence, not loyalty." She looked away. "I wanted to know if humans were truly different or if the stories were wrong." Cade leaned back against the bench. "And?" "You stood," she said simply. "When there was no reward, no chance of winning, you stood anyway." He shrugged. "Someone had to." She smiled at that. News spread quickly. Within hours, Helios Drift was flooded with encrypted transmissions. Fleets adjusted course. Political channels burned with argument and fear. Luravel departed the station under heavy escort, her presence bending events without effort. Cade went with her. Not as a soldier, not as an advisor, not as anything official. Just human. Life aboard her flagship was overwhelming. The ship was massive, elegant, filled with technology that felt alive. Crew members from dozens of species worked in perfect coordination. They watched Cade with curiosity, some with confusion, a few with suspicion. Why was a human here? Luravel didn't explain. She didn't need to. The first test came sooner than anyone expected. A rival faction attempted a coup during her ascension ceremony. Sabotage, bribes, threats. Luravel could have crushed them instantly. Instead, she listened. She asked questions, offered terms, forgiveness. Many refused. Those who attacked were stopped cleanly, decisively, but without cruelty. Whispers spread. The new ruler was powerful, yes, but she ruled differently. And beside her stood a human. Not enhanced, not armored, not important. Just present. Years passed. Wars ended before they began, systems stabilized, trade routes reopened, refugees returned home. Other rulers asked why her reign succeeded where others failed. She always gave the same answer. Because I learned from humans. One night, standing together on a balcony overlooking a calm world, Cade finally asked, "Do you regret choosing me?" Luravel considered the question. "No," she said, "because power without restraint destroys itself." She glanced at him, and humans remind us why restraint matters. The galaxy remembered Luravel Thane as a great ruler, a reformer, a force of change. But she remembered something else. The day a human stood in front of a gun and didn't move. And that, she often said, was when everything truly changed. The end.